His name is Joan Irwin, and he is coming a little bit later. And he was worried where he's going to park and how to get here, since our shuttle service already done the service by then. If you can organize that he will get his help to get someone here, that would be really, really great. course, German turn San Diego. My name is Mona and I'm the director of this film festival, and I'm very, very happy to finally be here tonight to open this festival. And of course, I hope there will be many more events and festivals coming. This is our first one, so I hope you'll be back for the next one. We're happy to be here at beautiful MOPA and the historical part of San Diego and Balboa Park. And the selection of movies we chose are new and progressive, and I hope that they're not only entertained, but that they're educational, inspirational, and maybe perhaps even a little bit unexpected. I'm honored to welcome actually our special guests. We have Dan Ireland and also Reinhard Hai here tonight, sitting right here. You will see him tomorrow after the movie screen. So I hope you come back tomorrow. We have 3 movies, and I'm sure you've seen our schedule for that, so I hope you come back and be part of the question and answer sessions we have after the movies. I would like to thank our sponsors at this point, and we have the Goethe Institute, Pacific Aviation and Lease Management, International Airport Sales, Lufthansa, Fenstermann, Profile Institute for Clinical Research, and the German-American Chamber of Commerce, California. Thank you very much to our honorary consul, Stefan Holman, for all your help. Thank you to all the sponsors, all the supporters, all the partners, all the volunteers, of course all the staff, and actually I'm looking for Susanne Kutz, because without our festival coordinator I would have lost my head a long time ago. I also would like to thank and actually give a great appreciation for the positive feedback we got in the San Diego community. For being here for the first time, we had great positive feedback, not only from businesses, but schools, universities, film festival societies, film critics, and even the press. And of course, I want to thank you, the audience. I'm really happy you got to be here tonight and be part of this night. At this point, I would like to say actually a special thank you for 2 women from the Goethe Institute. They had a never-ending support for us, advice, motivation, and a lot of patience as well. So please welcome Annette Rupp and Margit Kleinman.
Here we are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And we would like to thank Mona for all of her great work she did.
Yes.
Without her, this wouldn't be happening.
Don't fall.
No.
Don't fall. And some of you have already met Eckhard Rotermund, who is responsible, came up with this idea. Eckhard Rotermund, who came up with the idea for the festival. Please welcome Eckhard Rotermund.
My dream is becoming my reality tonight. It's wonderful to have you all here. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eckhard, and as a founder of this German movie festival, I thank all the supporters, and without them we couldn't make it. But my special thanks go to Mona. Without her patience and diplomacy and her knowledge and how to solve problems, we all would not be here tonight. So, and to honor your work, I want to hand over a bottle of fine French champagne.
So I'm not able to solve all the problems, so don't come to me afterwards.
Why not? We have this European United, so we can give this French champagne is anywhere. So, now I introduce our German honorary consul here in San Diego, and welcome Mr. Stefan Hollmann, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I just have to make a little note before I start talking, because that makes my life a little bit easier. Meine Damen und Herren, friends of the movies, I look around this audience here and I'm excited and delighted to see what I see. You know, after the relentless work Mona and Eki and the team put together, I'm very, very pleased to see what I see now. I took office here in San Diego about a year and a half ago. We were talking about the German community, and people were saying, how many of these Germans do we have here? Well, no real demographics existed at the time, or it was there, but we put it together, and believe it or not, the German group here in San Diego, or San Diego County here in Southern California, is probably the fourth largest minority community, with around 100,000, and that is a lot. Germans have a tendency to not cluster too much, so this is kind of an interesting thing here today. But I'm here to support, in whatever capacity I can, the outreach into the community to make sure that our German culture will be, in the 21st century, visible as it always was. Right now, I would like to thank the team again. And here's what I'm having to say. The relentless preparation supported by the professionals of the Goethe Institute, we have seen already, Annette and Margaret, here it was the professionals made this event possible. And a special thank is now going to Mona. Please come forward here. Something for you. So Mona, in anticipation of what you have done for us here, this is good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Susanne, where is Susanne? Susanne Cruz, are you here somewhere? Oh, please come forward. Do us this favor. This team was relentlessly working on these issues, and again, as I have to say, it wouldn't be possible. And I don't want to make it too long, so might someone else. Do we have Judy here? Judy Jäger, someone? Please. Judy, there you are. Armina Kranz, the soul in the consulate, in the chamber. She is known, I guess, by almost everyone, meanwhile. But she takes care of so many things. That's what we have. And last but not least, I don't want to miss my friend Eki. Eki and I, we know each other since, I would say, 35 years. I was a student in school back in Germany, and he was a teacher, but he was never my teacher. But somehow we became friends, and it stayed all his life somehow. So please, Eki. My part today. Okay. Thank you. All your work put I think the German cause, the film with the 21st century German cause, I have to say, onto the radar screen. and I hope it will stay this way, and we will have many more movie festivals to come. May I now give the microphone to Charles Eschnauer as the representative of the Mayor's Office.
But before you do, last but not least, thank you, Stefan.
Guten Abend. It's a pleasure to be here this evening representing the mayor. He unfortunately wasn't able to make it. He has sent a letter, however, welcoming everyone to this event and welcoming this event to San Diego. And it states, on behalf of the City of San Diego, I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to all the participants and guests of the premier German Currents San Diego Film Festival, New Films from Germany. The Goethe Institute, Los Angeles, promotes the study of German abroad and fosters knowledge about Germany by providing information on its culture, society, and politics. Through this organization, San Diegans can experience a diverse form of media and can be part of a compassionate and cultured society. This festival offers opportunities to engage in discussion with actors and luminaries, and it is my hope that the festival will continue to enrich our lives by sharing the extraordinary talents of many artists and performers for many more years. I am certain you will find San Diego to be the perfect location for this film festival. San Diego is full of history and diverse cultures. Please accept my best wishes for a successful film festival. I am truly delighted to see such a diverse form of media being displayed in America's finest city. Sincerely, Jerry Sanders, Mayor.
So now I would like to talk a little bit about the film, and we're coming to the San Diego premiere. It's Allemagne, Willkommen in Deutschland, Willkommen in Germany. It's a debut film of two German sisters with Turkish descent, Nesrin and Jasmine Samdarelli. And the film has already been shown in 16 countries with over 1.4 million viewers. And right now we chose this movie to be our opening film, as so did all the other West Coast German film festivals, as in Berlin and beyond, in San Francisco, and German Currents, Los Angeles. I was able to actually meet both the director and the screenwriter a couple days ago in San Francisco, and I just wanted to ask her, what should I add before we show the movie? What can we say to the audience? And she wanted to just make sure that I tell you that there is a non-existing language being used in her film, so there might be some parts you might not understand, so it's supposed to be like this, so don't get upset. Don't worry, and I hope, please enjoy. Willkommen in Deutschland, Allemagne. Thank you.
Ja, jetzt gerade in der Mitte, wo sie so dick sind. Ich glaube, das ist ein bisschen schwierig. Das ist gut Messer von Volksbank, das schneit gut.
Analog in the sense that is how it's going. You know, it's going to be part of it. And that's the series was a series of bits of information that are finite, right? So once you recreate that, if you've got
How bad was it? Did it throw the whole film out of sense for you? Okay, good. Anyway, hi, I'm Dan Ireland. I'm a very good friend of Percy Adlon's. My background is I started the Seattle Film Festival, and I brought a lot of Percy Adlon's films to America when they were first being made. How many of you are familiar with Percy's work? Great. How many of you seen Baghdad Cafe? Well, then you're familiar with Percy's work. But he goes back a long time, and from Celeste, The Swing, Sugar Baby. How many of you seen Sugar Baby? So we all know, do you know who Mariana Sagabrecht is? Great. Okay. That's good.
I think that is maybe a very good point to maybe ask you. Percy Adlon has always used very strong women in his movies, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, what his relationship, not necessarily to women, but to why he chose that kind of topic for movies.
Percy loves women, and I mean, and you can see it in every single one of his films. I mean, even in this, Barbara's performance is just extraordinary, and this is her first film, by the way. Yeah, and I mean, to get a performance like that from an actress. I mean, she's from the stage, but this was her very first film, and
she was also nominated for the role, right?
Yes, she was, and she should have won too, by the way. You just don't get an actor that's that committed, that's that soulful, that can commit to being, you know, Alma Mahler and give everything, body and soul, to a performance like she did. And when I first saw the film, I was just staggered by the film itself, because Percy's imagination. The other thing that Percy loves is music, and the music in the film is just unbelievably exquisite. But that's his whole background, and is music and film. Even in Baghdad Cafe, I mean, how many of you remember the song, I'm Calling You? I am calling you. Right. Well, Percy's in Vienna right now putting it on stage as a musical. And listen, if Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, can go around the world and become a big hit, hopefully Baghdad Cafe can too. But his uncanny ability of like taking a real situation and just putting a spin on it and really looking at it from a different perspective. And the whole idea of Sigmund Freud and Gustav Mahler meeting and actually having this relationship, which in actuality did happen, but I know that it's got Percy's spin on it, which just put such a reality on it. Did all of you guys have go with the whole film, with the relationship between the two?
And we have a microphone, so if you just raise your hand, Anna will come by and give you a microphone so you can be heard. So I think you might have to repeat your question.
Yeah, no, did all of you believe the relationship between Freud and Mahler?
Yes.
Great, and because he put such a beautiful, loving spin on it, and Percy works, he's a surrealist as well, so he always puts a touch of surrealism in his work, which really gives it that amazing ability to bring out the humor in a situation, but yet with the grounding of the performance of Barbara as Alma Mahler is just, is so heartfelt and compassionate. And I've never seen a film where I've ever seen Alma Mahler not played as a villain. So this was the first time that Alma Mahler's whole story made sense, and it really felt real, and that's huge. From Death, have any of you seen Death in Venice? Yes. Well, and the films that have been made on Mahler, Ken Russell made a film on Mahler too. Did any of you see that? Oh, that's great. And look, even that there's one hand here, it's great. No, it's really incredible, because a lot of people don't see films like this, and the fact that you even came out today, because I love this film. I think it's Percy's best film since Baghdad Cafe, and so hopefully you weren't too confused, and if I seem a little freaked out, it's only because the reels were out of order for the better part of 20 minutes, and that always makes a filmmaker go a little wacky, and I'm the one that has to tell Percy, so I'm a little afraid of it.
But I think everybody still enjoyed his work. And actually, what I had a question, if you don't mind asking, is how much is really true in that story? You know, that they split up Gustav Mahler, that Alma ended up with Walter Gropius, but how much is really true? How would you find out?
No, all of it was true. It was all factual. Especially with Mahler and Alma. That was like, Percy was absolutely 1,000%. And when I say Percy, I also must include the other co-director, Felix Adlon, Percy's son, and who co-wrote the script with him. This is really a labor of love between father and son, and Eleanor, Percy's wife, and Felix's mother produced the film. And they're a team, and their company is called Pele Mele, and they've been making films since the early 80s, and you know what, he's about to make another one too. He's about to make another one in the United States. It's going to be, I think, his first film in the United States since Hawaiian Gardens.
That is going to be released next year?
Let's hope. Anything goes in this wonderful world of independent film nowadays. It's a miracle if a film makes it to theaters now and finds distribution. But yes, hopefully it will be here and it will be made. But he's working on it right now. He's also casting it in Europe right now as we speak.
Would you expect that this film would be taken up by, say, the Landmark theaters or some other theater?
Would I expect? Yes, I would absolutely expect. But you'll have to call Mike McClellan at Landmark Theaters and ask him if he's going to book it, because it's really hard to get theater space now for independent films. And foreign language films, 10 years ago, it was a whole different world. As I said, I ran a film festival, and I also owned an independent theater in Seattle, Washington, and that we made our living, our careers off showing foreign language films. It's really hard. Don't you guys find it increasingly difficult to go to a theater and see a foreign language film? I do. And unless it's Pedro Almodovar or someone who's like completely, out there and is prolific, and Sony Classics or Fox Searchlight has picked it up, it's really hard. It's really hard to get distribution now. So the fact that this wonderful festival exists, Mona, thank you. I really, and for you guys to come out and support it, that is what's going to keep festivals and films being shown in theaters like this alive. So your support is so important.
I have two questions. First of all, is Alma's music ever played at all? And secondly, I think she married Gropius, but then she also married, she had a third husband. And what was the relationship to the two of them?
Do you know what? I really don't absolutely, I'm not a historian on that fact. I wish Percy was here because he could answer it more articulately, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth by answering it incorrectly. But I do know that she was married 3 times, and I mean, she outlived him by, she died in, what, the 60s, I think? Yeah, she died in the 60s. So, she outlived Gropius too, right? I do believe so. Well, strength in women. Could you repeat it? I'm sorry, ma'am, because...
As far as I remember from history, she had an affair with Franz Werfel, and in the film there is a scene where she plays, where Alma and Gustav play, and there is a singer, and there is a young man already at her feet, and it looks very much like a hint, this is Franz Werfel.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
She emigrated. And she emigrated with Werfel, and they crossed the Pyrenees. This was a very arduous adventure. So this was third husband.
Thank you, because you just answered the question, and I'm sorry I couldn't, but I'm not Percy, so thank you.
There were some hands over there on the back. Are there still some questions?
This is not a question, it's a suggestion. Did you think about some sort of internet distribution? Some paid internet distribution?
I think internet distribution is inevitable. If your film doesn't immediately get ripped off by some site in India, which has been happening frequently. I'm also a film director, and my film, when it was finished and they were putting it up for foreign distribution, within 3 weeks, it was online and you could see it, which is quite frightening. The internet distribution usually comes from a distributor that's picked up the rights. And I don't think that Percy has actually gone through his own internet distribution, but hopefully whoever does end up picking up the film, it will end up on Netflix, it will end up on DVD, and hopefully it will end up on the internet too through that. But if you know how to download, I'm sure you can find anything. It's really quite horrifying. And it's actually hurting the business tremendously. And that's especially a really good question that you asked, because it's one of the things that will really stop people going to movie theaters, because people can sit at home now and download whatever they want. And the experience of sitting in a movie theater and watching a film with an audience to sitting at home and watching it on the web or even in front of your TV it's just night and day. And as much as I love watching films at home, I will always go to a movie theater to see them first so I can fall in love with them. Because I never find that I ever get that same experience that I get in a movie theater that I get at home.
Was it opened up in Germany, and what have the critics said if it has been opened up?
It opened up in Germany and it was incredibly successful, and I believe the critics were incredibly positive. At least that's what I heard from the friends that I have in Germany, even aside from Percy, who knew that I know Percy really well. And so I think it was very successful. And in Europe, it's a very different world. I mean, than it is here. Although it is gaining, difficulty with the world of distribution. But fortunately, Percy's so well known because of Baghdad Cafe that if you put, from the director of Baghdad Cafe in Europe, it means a lot. I can remember when Baghdad Cafe opened up, and I was going through France, and I saw this lineup around a movie theater around a block, and I couldn't believe how long it was. It was longer than any movie lineup I'd ever seen anywhere in America. And I looked at it, and it was Baghdad Cafe. And I think it played for a year in Paris straight.
I just wanted to mention that Baghdad Cafe was a lot out of Rosenheim as well, so people might know it under one or the other. So. Oh,
that's right. It was called out of Rosenheim. Yeah. I actually, another thing, I worked at a company called Vestron Pictures, and Percy had brought me the script of Out of Rosenheim, and I tried to get it made, and my boss at the time wouldn't green light it because he didn't like the title.
This is in regards to Mahler's music. I happened to be in Vienna on May 11th of this year, the 100th anniversary day of his death. And my mother happens to be buried in the same cemetery that Gustav Mahler is, 150 meters from my mother's grave.
Wow.
Every time I went to the cemetery, I always went to Gustav Mahler's grave. And lo and behold, on May 11th of 2011, on Gustav Mahler's grave was a beautiful wreath of flowers with roses, etc. And it was sent from the New York Philharmonic, the orchestra, the New York Philharmonic. And on the wreath it said, "My friends, to Gustav Mahler, we love your music, the New York Philharmonic." I thought I just mentioned it.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you for sharing.
That's so beautiful. Did you say he died on May 11th?
Pardon?
He died on May 11th?
May 11th of 1011 when he died.
19.
My birthday is May 11th. That's why I'm like, really?
We were in Vienna for some time. His anniversary was published in the newspapers. There were special concerts given like they do in Austria on anniversaries like that. So May 11th was a good time for me to go to the cemetery. But I would also like to say that for those of us who lived in Austria during the German period, we were denied Gustav Mahler's music because of his Jewish religion. After 1945, of course, Mahler became one of the...
You have to, please, can you please talk into the microphone? The people in the back have a hard time. No, talk inside into the microphone when you talk, otherwise it's hard to hear.
No, I'm through. I just wanted to mention the beautiful music that the man wrote, all his symphonies, his leaders, etc. He was just a genius. And the unfortunate thing is that Mahler is not buried in the cemetery in Vienna where Mozart, Beethoven, Johann Strauss, and all these people are buried. He's in just basically a neighborhood cemetery. But believe it or not, in one of the references that the architect made, that he likes plain stones and concrete, Mahler's gravestone is a block of granite, just plain, and then his name is written on there, Gustav Mahler, nothing else.
Well, thank you for sharing, and I think we have maybe time for one more question.
Like most geniuses, you go unappreciated until after your time on Earth, which is really a tragedy. I mean, and someone with the talent of Mahler, because I believe that his music was, he was damned by critics and people that were jealous of him, and his music is really probably, it's the most sumptuous music I think I've ever heard in my life. Gustav, when I was a young man, I went to see Death in Venice, and I had never heard Gustav Mahler before, and I never stopped listening to him or buying his music or being transcendent with being taken to a beautiful place by closing my eyes and listening to somebody whose soul was so put into their music. So I couldn't agree with you more, and he should be buried with all the rest of the great composers, because he really is.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I wanted to, well, first comment that I thought the natural setting was wonderful, because of course nature is so important in Mahler, and you know, he was a great walker and showed him climbing and so on. But what I wanted to ask about in particular was the cottage, which is in this natural setting, which I know that he had, a composing cottage. Was this the actual cottage? Did they take it on location there, and also the other, you know, the surrounding settings? Were those taken on location? No,
it was not the actual cottage. It was in Vienna that they shot it, and it was. I know that Percy went and found someplace that was like almost like a replica of where Mahler actually lived with Alma. So, but it is not the actual cottage. No.
It was convinced.
It's pretty close though.
Do we have one more question? Then I would say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And
on behalf of Percy Adlon, thank you so much for coming out. And Felix Adlon, thank you so much for coming out.
Approach you with, but I would like to actually ask you in the beginning what, as you've already had experience with Nina Hagen and Spliff, and there's a lot of things as a musician you do with writing a song for regularly having a song, but how it is to produce music for a movie.
Well, I started out, I guess it's not switched on. There you go. I started out studying classical music production in Berlin at the Music Academy for 6 years, but during that time I started playing in a rock band, the Nina Hagen Band, and then that was my my story for the next like 10, 15 years after that. And I only ventured into film scoring in the mid-90s, and one of the first movies that I actually worked with was Winter Sleepers with Tom Tykwer. And I collaborated with Tom himself and my partner Johnny Climax, who's an Australian musician who's also has a total pop background. He didn't even go to Music Academy. And I think we just grew into self-made film composers, really. And we grew into using the orchestra, drawing a little bit from my experience, from my studies, but of course venturing in this completely different world. But at first, really more with pop music than anything else. So our next film that we did with Tom Tykwer was in 1998, and that was Run Lola Run, and we scored it with techno music. So we were still at home there, but we were learning, taking our first steps actually to apply music dramatically to a movie. And then over the next 13 years, you know, it was a total of 15 years that we've worked with Tom Tykwer so far, we started to use increasingly orchestral musicians and big orchestras, which basically the climax of all this was Perfume, the Story of a Murder, which happened in 2006, and we used the Berliner Philharmoniker for that. So this was a huge learning experience for us.
Yeah, I'm sure from the punk, from the garage music, and Nina Hagen is most of us know, to coming to music like this is probably like a huge jump. So it's interesting to see kind of like how it progressed.
Well, the music for Drei, because it's such a low-budget movie, had to be done not on a big orchestral scale. And also, we thought that it was fitting to go back to our pop music roots for this. So we actually had a little bit of string orchestra, but a lot of the orchestral music that you hear is not from us. So this is a very eclectic music choices in this film, apart from the David Bowie song that everybody knows. There's also a piece by Claude Debussy, which is from Pélias and Mélisande, which is happening in the beginning during the ballet scene. This is Sacha Waltz. It's a fantastic, wonderful scene, I actually think. And then it actually comes back at the end when the three of them get together. So that's sort of the arch, which is done by Debussy, and it has to do with the fact that we didn't have the budget to have a big, luscious orchestra. And there's also music from this movie that we see little snippets from. It's The Miracle of Milan. It's a 40s, I think, Vittorio De Sica movie, one of the classic Italian movies, and it's beautifully, I think, used in there, and actually the music from it is actually also happening sometimes when there's no snippet from it. Like, for instance, in the scene when both of them run into Adam at this exhibition where he sings in the choir. It's this really fast-paced, weird, sort of old-fashioned film score that's used. So that was also not us. But all the sort of the pop music, like atmospheric score that's happening, it's quite a bit of it. That's us.
Great, thank you. We're going to open the questionnaire to everybody, and there will be a microphone. So just raise your hand if you have a question. Anna will come around and give you a microphone.
And it doesn't have to be about music. It can also be about your, maybe I can help you, say goodbye to your deterministic biology or so.
Well, we know that this movie is definitely scratching a lot of topics. And when we were talking earlier, what is really something we thought is just, it's life. And it's the liberal stand to a lot of topics, from genetic research and homosexuality. So it is definitely there's issues for everybody to open.
Well, it's really bisexuality that it's about. It's sort of about the Kinsey scale, and Kinsey researched this a long time ago. I think back in the 50s, he tested people, and I think it's really funny how even in this day and age, in the discussion about gay rights and all this, people really do think that they are either on one side of that scale or on the other. And while 50, 60 years ago, Kinsey already proved that we're all somewhere on that scale, and probably sliding there as our life goes by. And this is sort of what the film is about, or it's like, it's about so many things. It's really about life, indeed.
Thank you. We're opening the question, and there's one in the back there.
Very simple, just why David Bowie?
Why David Bowie? I don't know. You have to ask Tom Tykwer in this case. I am not totally sure. I wasn't really super happy with the choice, but I kind of understood it when I saw the final movie. I think it had to do with the fact, I think his reasoning had to do with the fact that it's sort of a piece of music that defines that generation of the protagonists, because we're talking about people in their 40s. This is a piece from the early 70s when they were really young. And it's a piece that everybody knows, and sorry that I can't.
No, I think this is a good answer, because even, I'm in my 40s, and even hearing that Nina Hagen and also Reinhard Heil has been becoming a lot of nominations for the 9 Luftballons. So this is just something I grew up, and a lot of us probably grew up with. So it's actually even making it more modern or more contemporary, I think, using.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes it that modern, because we are in our 40s, so we're not actually the hip people anymore, So.
I keep on forgetting that.
I actually am in my 50s, so I'm way beyond all of these questions anyway. So. Anything else?
Is
the film all filmed in Germany?
I didn't understand that. Could you repeat that, please?
It was filmed in Germany, the movie.
It was
all
all
Berlin.
Yeah, it was all in Berlin. Everything is Berlin as it is today. So, I mean, like the swimming pool that's built into the River Spree, for instance. I guess maybe people who know Berlin got to, and haven't been there in a while, maybe got to see a few new things.
Is there one scene in England?
Oh, of course, we had the one scene in London. Yes, we had the ending because Hannah, after this dramatic climax where they all run into each other, flees to London to a friend, and she apparently stays there for months because the baby is very much growing at that time. So that's really the only other location. Everything else is Berlin. Of course, it's Berlin all over the place. You have Friedrichshain, Prenzlauer Berg. You have a lot of Kreuzberg, which is where Tom used to live, and I spend a lot of time. So it's really for us all, it's very much a film about home. And it's also, I mean, you know, these two protagonists, of course, are both in the arts scene. So you get a lot of what's going on in Berlin. When you actually live there, you don't get that much unless you really, you know, are an artist or you are into, you know, constantly going to the theater.
The choir was absolutely beautiful. Can you tell us about it?
I really like
Yeah,
the
I'm
scene.
so
The
sorry
choir was so beautiful. What can you tell us about it?
That I didn't give him credit. This is a choir by a Berlin, and I forgot his name was. He has a choir that's called Staats- und Domchor, and he is the choir director. And I'm not sure if this was the choir that you heard singing, because we had also nothing to do with this choir music. As much as we love producing choirs, again, this is a super low budget movie. Yeah. And you know, we produced choir music in the Baltics for Perfume. And we are producing music for the new Tom Tykwer movie that is going to come out in 1 year. Maybe I should say a little bit about that. We're producing with a big 50-piece choir and all that. It's actually one of my favorite things to do, is to record choir, because it's just the most gorgeous body of, you know, for music making to work with. But this particular one is an existing choir in Berlin. So he was just really drawing a lot from what's going on culturally in Berlin.
Was that a contemporary piece or a classic?
Yes, no, it was actually a piece that was written by this choir director. And if I mean, he's in the end title. His name escapes me right now. I'm sorry. But
I'm curious. Perhaps you could say a few words about the difference between putting together a score for a film as opposed to, say, writing the pop music earlier. Hearing your background, be interested for somebody ignorant of writing music. Totally, what you find the difference.
Well, you have to work. It's always, you know, filmmaking is collaborative as nothing else. And of course, if you're in a pop band, that's the collaboration. And if you've seen the movie Spinal Tap, then you know that it is like that. Actually, it is. I couldn't laugh about Spinal Tap at all. So I was really, really happy to leave that behind me. And I really, really, as much as they make still a lot of money, you know, when I look at the Rolling Stones, and they're in their 60s, they're still at that. That's horrible. It's really something to do when you're in your 20s. And then at some point you really go, okay, can we just have something that's a little bit more, it has a bit more depth, it's a bit more of a challenge. And I think that's what film music is. It's always a challenge, because you have to find the right tone for this specific project. I mean, you know, ask that to John Williams, he might not give that answer, because he has a very specific style of writing orchestral music, and that's just, when you ask him to write, that's what you get. You get a strong theme, and it's fantastic. And we all adore him, absolutely, by the way. But in our case, and with independent filmmaking, where the budgets are low, you have to really search, and you have to kind of feel it. And in this case with Tom Tykwer, it's easier because the filmmaker himself becomes part of the composing team. This is a very, very, very unusual way of working films. But when my partner Johnny Klimek and I, or I by myself, work with other directors, it's the collaboration with the director. you always play second fiddle, literally. You have to find something that satisfies the director, and at the same time, you have to sometimes sell the director good stuff, because directors start out using other people's music when they're sitting in the editing room. This is so-called temp music, the temporary score, and it's just a typical phenomenon that when you see a film 100 times, 1,000 times while you're editing it, and you hear this other music that you put there temporarily, at some point it's just etched in your brain. And then as a composer, you have to compete with that. And it's impossible, because you play him a new piece with that same scene that he's seen the other piece with 100,000 times, and he sees your piece for the first time. It's impossible that it feels right. So actually, you know, I think that is the biggest challenge. And of course, the other thing is, do you really follow the drama? And like a cameraman, what point of view do you take as a composer? I think music absolutely has a point of view. Meaning, are we scoring his feelings or that other person's feelings? Or are we trying to stay out of it? Or do we have to be emotionally ambiguous a little bit between all these? You know, but do we have to just be evocative of all kinds of things without pushing a specific button? Of course, you know, there are different kinds of film scoring. A lot of typical Hollywood film scoring has to do with the insecurity of the director or the producer, that they get their feelings across properly, or the story across, so they ask the musician, the special effects people, everybody basically does the same thing in signals. Hello, now you have to be sad. Now you can be happy, and so on and so on. And you know, with some filmmakers, it's not like that. They don't want that. They even don't want constant music. They want to have the actors do their thing, have the other aspects of the movie do their thing, and have the music only come in if it really has something to add. I have to say, those are the projects that I prefer to work on, because, and then the directors that give you a little bit more freedom of experimenting and really coming up with something innovative. Because the principle of the temp music, of course, if everybody then has to come in and imitate the temp music because everybody's gotten used to it, what it means, everything is being regurgitated over and over and over again, and that's sort of what film music often is.
I had a couple of questions. First of all, one of the things that really I liked about the film was this ballet sequence at the beginning that sort of laid out the structure of the narrative. And it really was weird, because at the very end, they all separate, but they don't in the film, and so it set up a nice tension. But you were you then involved in deciding to not have music when they did the ballet scene? Or, as I recall, it was without a score.
No, that's not true. The music weaves in and out, and it is Debussy. It's Pelléas and Mélisande, which is it's an opera. There's also a ballet version, or some sort of a shorter version of it, and it's really, really beautiful and evocative music. And it starts the ballet scene, and at some point it just stops, and you hear just the dancers, and at some point it comes back in and it stops again. So it's actually there, and it's really important. But of course, you know, what's really, really cool and really daring is to take the music away and just let the dancing happening. And I think Sasha Waltz's choreography is just fantastic. The dances are also, it's really just lovely. You know, because we weren't scoring this piece of the film, but I actually caught myself watching it.
So do you have a role in deciding that, like the music that was played when they all encounter each other and then miss each other at the museum? Do you have an input there?
No, not with Tom Tykwer. With other people, sometimes that is the case. There's, of course, if you look at the Hollywood situation, where when Hollywood movies are made, you have a composer or composing team, and you have a music supervisor. The supervisor doesn't supervise the composer at all. It has nothing to do with that. That's kind of a misleading term. But what they do is they find the source music that's not originally composed for the film. So whenever there's a song needed or something else that needs to be licensed for the film, often they come and they suggest. They give us a certain budget. Licensing music is actually pretty expensive. So in Tom's case, that's never the case, because he's such an encyclopedia of art, whether it's arts, paintings, sculptures, other music. He's pretty amazing. He knows his stuff. So that's in this case, it's always him picking which that we're going to see Robert Wilson's theater play, right? For instance, or we go and see this choir performance, and which paintings we see when we go into the gallery. I mean, none of this is by chance or left to chance. So it's always a conceptual thing.
So is Tom Tykwer, because I saw that in a lot of the other movies, that he always comes together with the credit for music. He does that in all the movies international that are the three of you with Johnny Klimek.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's unusual to other directors. So it's just really a Tom Tykwer.
Yeah, and this often, you sometimes have this thing where a director writes his own music and then he has people who help him do this because he might not be so proficient in actually composing. And Tom is a little bit more open about this. I think he's a really, really good musician. He can play the piano really well. He also writes melodies really, really well. But of course, orchestration, developing those melodies and stuff like that. He always has a really strong opinion, but he doesn't feel competent enough to do that, and that's why he's collaborating with us. And he was looking around in the 90s for a while, and then he found us, and I think he's quite happy. And now he's just placing one giant challenge after the other in front of us. The next one is a movie called Cloud Atlas, which he's doing together with the Wachowskis, the people who did The Matrix. And that's going to be out in about a year. It's going to be an amazing 3-hour epic, very, very hard to sell. Warner Brothers is going to release it here in this country, and I urge you to go see it and defy them, because Warner Brothers does not believe in this movie, and it's something that is different from anything you've ever seen. So
from a low-budget movie going to the other extreme.
Yeah, this is a $100 million movie that Hollywood didn't want to finance, and it has Tom Hanks in it, Halle Berry, Susan Sarandon, Hugh Grant, yes, and a whole bunch of other absolutely wonderful.
So we have to make sure it gets here for the next German Curve in San Diego.
3-hour movie. I hope they're going to do an intermission. I don't think they will, but because it's not the Lord of the Rings, It's based on a novel. It's a fantastic book, actually. It's really, really good. So I hope we're going to make it well, because we're going to work on it for pretty much the next year.
What's the name of it again?
It's Cloud Atlas, Der Wolkenatlas. There's a German translation that's good. It's a novel by David Mitchell. Came out in 2004. It's really good.
Can you tell us how this film has been received in Germany?
This one has been received well by the critics, by not all of them, and sort of, so-so by the audiences. And I think it has to do, the people that I have talked to who didn't want to go see it were just uncomfortable to see two men having sex with each other. So as much as we think that we have come such a long way to tolerate all kinds of forms of sexuality, it doesn't really seem that we have quite made it yet to where we should be. And that's why I applaud you, all of you, for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a very small question. How come that the subtitles sometimes were off? Did you... were you in a rush or what?
I didn't have anything to do with them, and I actually regret that. I think it'd be nice to actually spend a week or two and go over them. So I don't know how that happened. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that nobody expected much from an American release. So I think nobody wanted to really invest any money, and that's always how that goes.
And I can just add to that we had a little bit of a hard time getting the movie here, and we were persistent about it, and we were only lucky to have it for this film festival because it's not showing in any other movie theaters in San Diego, which we think it's very sad, and luckily for us we got it. So I think it has definitely something to do with the topics, the subjects being scratched I mentioned earlier, and in Los Angeles you can see it, in San Francisco you can see it, but nowhere in San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the end of the movie. Was there a possibility that it could have gone a different direction? Did Tom have a different view?
I don't think he has an alternative ending, no. I mean, there were a whole bunch of scenes shot for the beginning, for the character development, the whole expose of and they were wonderful scenes. They were funny. They really took us right into the world of the characters, and then he decided to do the split screen opening, which goes on for quite a while. I think it goes on for over. Actually, there's the lines with the little monologue. Then there's the scene with the two in the bed, and then there's the split screen, which is sort of the title sequence. And a lot of the scenes that didn't make it into the movie made it into the split screen. But it's absolutely impossible to follow it all. But I think he sheds a lot of things. He shoots way more than what you get to see at the end. But in terms of the ending, I think it was always like this. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised to see an alternate ending on the DVD. So.
Maybe there's an option you can press.
Yeah, I mean, it happens more and more on the Blu-rays now that you can actually do that. But not in this case, as far as I know.
I think you have to use the microphone. It's a little hard to hear you in the back.
Okay. Was Stephanie Rios actually pregnant in the scenes that she appears pregnant?
Wait, was she?
Was the actress pregnant in the scenes where she is named?
No, she was not pregnant. She's actually.
So that's a marvelous.
That's a good job. Yeah, that's a pretty good job. I think she's like 48, 49 or so. She looks pretty fantastic, I think, and I think she's very sexy, actually, and she's actually just like that in person, which is, of course, not a good thing to say about an actor, because she didn't even act. I think she acted fantastically, but she's really that kind of a character. So.
It's going straight to Germany, what you just said.
No, she's wonderful.
She's a beautiful, beautiful face, and I think that's one on Tom Tykwer's interview I've read about him, that he acknowledged even just her face as being one of the prettiest one you've seen in German acting. And she's actually from Austria.
She's from Austria, and she's more a theater actress than a movie actress. And I think she's absolutely fantastic. And not pregnant. I don't think she's hitched in any way, so, which doesn't mean anything, obviously.
Still going Austria.
Oops, there we go.
Are there any more questions? No? Well, then I will thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.